Welcome to the Inspiration North podcasts, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, it's just the beginning with Dom Platt, aka Fat Lad to Fighter. We talk about the scary event that spurred him to take action to change, the dedication and support needed to be fight ready, if someone tells you you can't do something, prove them wrong, and how pretzels and pizzas are his biggest downfalls.
Dom is a 28-year-old Muay Thai enthusiast who decided to try his hand at fighting. Venturing down a rabbit hole and embarking on a journey dubbed Fat Lad to Fighter that saw him lose close to 30 kilograms, Dom was born in York and adopted the Northeast close to a decade ago. He's now rooted here and is looking forward to being able to share his small experiences and hopefully inspire and motivate other people to make positive life decisions. So Dom, you're not from around here, are you?
I'm not, no. I'm from York originally, which is a little historical city about 90 minutes away from here. I ended up in Sunderland about 9 years ago, as a fresh-faced 20-year-old coming to uni. Hated it, dropped out, didn't like the whole structure of it. I'm not academically minded at all. Very quickly came to realise that, so I didn't fit into that sort of environment. My mum, being an academic, was very much an advocate of me running with what I'm comfortable with, which at that point was getting a job and finding myself, because I'd been out of the country for a couple of years, so re-establishing myself back here and trying to make it back home again, really. Okay. And Sunderland has very much been that to me over these past 8 years, between Sunderland and Seaham and spending time working in Newcastle. Like, the Northeast is very much now my adopted home, so thank you everyone for welcoming me into this wonderful region, because I've had a great time.
Is York technically the north? It is, isn't it?
I would always class it as the north, and it is when you do the weather reports on the Northeast Time Tees. Yeah. I'm just going to claim it is on there, guys. So I do understand that it's south of the Scotch corner, but I do believe it is in the north of England. Yes, yes. Because anybody who's from the Northeast is from the Northeast, and like anywhere south of
Middlesbrough,
Scotch corner, Middlesbrough, is seen as a southerner.
Totally. Yeah, but we don't sound like we're from around here as well, so it's fine.
No, it's always funny. I mean, when I go back down to home, they always say to me, like, you sound like you're more from up there now. Yeah. So I'm kind of a reject in that, like, everybody up here thinks I'm from down there. Everybody from down there thinks I'm from up here. So I'm just kind of this nomad guy that is a little bit confused.
So what took you out of the country? I'm intrigued.
An opportunity to travel.
Uh-huh.
My mum lived out in Switzerland, was studying for a PhD out there, and I'd finished my college diploma because I was hoping to be an actor. I applied to a couple of drama schools and stuff and didn't get in, so I saw it as an opportunity. My mum said to come out here and kind of explore and have some fun for a couple of years. So that's what I did. I moved out to Zurich for 2 years and worked in a nursery with young children and joined an amateur dramatics group out there. Didn't really like it due to the language barrier because they were all German speaking. They tried doing English, but it didn't feel right for us. So I quickly stopped going and quickly fell out of theatre, all things performing. Just kind of enjoyed being young. I got to travel a little bit, did the rounds around Europe, and when I got to like 19, 20, my mum was like, kind of, you're going to have to
get a job. Sort
your shit out now, Dom. So I was like, right, well, what do I want to do? I don't want to go get a job, because if that was the case, I'd have just stayed there, because I was working in a role that I was enjoying. I was in a good position. The money was good. But then it was kind of, right, something's got to happen now. So yeah, I applied to uni and...
So what were you going to do at uni?
Psychology,
oh,
funnily
really?
enough, yeah.
That's
Sunderland. Well, I literally stuck it for a term. Yeah. It was. I was there for the party element of it. I'm not going to lie.
Manakee then.
The social aspect of it was...
Is Manakee still there?
Manakee,
What's the student union on St Peter's side of it?
It was called North. North.
It was called
North,
Manakee when
North
we were
Shore,
there.
I think
that's
now.
so sad. They changed the name.
Yeah, I think it just got refurbished by when I started.
I'll have to tell my uni friends now because it's
yeah.
going to devastate them all.
Oh, sorry, uni friends.
It was the best part 20 odd years ago when we went there.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
I mean, I think I went to a handful of lectures, and even when I'd finished lectures, me and my housemate Tom would go into North Shore and we'd get a pint, and that would be it. That'd be the end of the day, and it very quickly digressed into social fun. I went out a lot and just enjoyed myself, and as any 21, 22, 23-year-old who's just come back from not being able to... The biggest thing that I realised when I moved back was understanding people, taking for granted the fact that you can understand people's conversations. So when walking through the street in Zurich, I was listening intently to people talking, passing, so I could get to grips with the language, so I could learn. And then when I did the same coming back, I was like, holy shit, like I can understand what you're saying. Stop talking, please, because I can understand. And it really took me a little while to retune my mind to not be nosy and listen to people because I can understand you now. And it was really weird.
As at this one, Ed, when James was abroad, he literally just picks up languages like unreal.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, and he's able to communicate with most people. You know, he's got words of every, pretty much.
Yeah.
I always say if you've got a wad of notes and someone wants them,
Yeah.
you can find a way to communicate with someone.
Google Translate now is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You can
pretty
speak
good.
into your phone. I'm a big advocate of tech.
Yeah.
Anything to make life a little bit easier. But yeah, Google Translate now. I was speaking to someone, a Chinese girl not so long back. She'd asked me for directions and she spoke into her phone and I replied and it's just down that way, just down that way, and off she went. And I was like, what in the world? Like 10 years ago, you could have never done that.
That's amazing.
It's wicked. I love it.
We should try and find some people to do that with. That sounds like fun.
Are you bilingual?
Oh.
Like, could you pass off as another person from a different nationality? You could definitely make a series out of that. Like,
now is a bit so I worked and lived in France for about 5 years. I was there for a year of university, and then I did a placement to get a double degree, and I was working at 80 hours a week.
Wow.
French all the time, and you start off as like the village idiot because you don't know all the vocabulary for burst pipes and stuff like that. So at that point, I think people were like, he sounds French, but there will be on occasions you get the odd word wrong, or it's like, we don't want to ask him the question just in case he is French, and it's just, or is he actually Dutch or something? And they don't believe you're English because it's like, how can you speak another language? You're English.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of, when you talk about acting, actually, I often refer to languages for me as being like an actor. So it's imitation of someone. So if you're playing a role that you know, a character that's well known, for me, I have to do it justice in attempting the accent, speaking like a local, and that for me has always been, I suppose I've been intrigued by talking to someone with some kind of gobbledygook words as a kid, and then them bringing you the bill or an ice cream or a plate of chips or something.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that. It's kind of it's opened my mind to want to talk to people, and I've always found though, if it's even just a please, a thank you, or a I would like, and then you point to something, I think people are sort of, I can tell they don't speak my language, but they've made an effort to say thank you or good morning or something.
I'd get so frustrated by the fact that I'd walk into a shop and I'd do exactly that. I'd say, Guten Morgen miteinander, kann ich habe das or das, like in German, and they go, yeah, sure, love, no problem, because they want opportunity to practice their language.
Yeah.
So they see that he's not from around here and that he's trying, but they see it as an exciting opportunity to practice their English.
Yeah.
So I'm like, thanks, guys.
It's
But
exactly
that being said, about when you say that people said, oh, well, it can't be English because you speak another language, that's something that I very quickly learned, that we are quite ignorant as a nation. And I'll say it quite boldly that there were moments there where I was quite shocked at the fact that there are so many people in the world that will just assume that they can communicate with them because you're English, and it's really small-minded. I'm not to be prejudiced on everyone, and I'm sorry if I don't speak another language properly, but like to be as close-minded as assuming that I'll be all right because I can speak the mother tongue. Do you know what I mean? take great pride in the fact that I'm happy to step in other people's shoes and put myself in their position. I do that quite a lot because it's nice to be humbled every now and again, because you can't be expected to know everything. But that small gesture of I've tried goes a long way to a lot of people.
Yeah, I found you get good service, people are friendly, you actually create quite good relationships fairly quickly with people. I mean, I spent a bit of time in Hong Kong for 6 months, and I mean, I'd learned a bit of Mandarin before I went.
Yeah.
But mostly there's Cantonese. They might understand Mandarin. And it's just a simple kind of, could I have the bill, please?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll slap a menu down in front of you, and everything's in Chinese, but it's got pictures on.
Yeah.
For the guailos, the expats. But a quick sort of, could you get me the bill, or thank you, or goodbye? People are like,
yeah, it goes a
look
long
at you
way.
sideways. It's like,
It goes a long way.
Just learned a couple of phrases. It does make a difference.
Did you know? Sorry, I just remembered a story you told me once about trying to talk Mandarin to in your local Chinese in La Rochelle, and they weren't Chinese.
So there was a girl I'd rented an apartment to that spoke English mostly, but she's like, oh, if you want to learn some Mandarin, I'll give you some lessons. Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Not expensive. So I thought, we went out with some French friends to it was a Vietnamese, Chinese, it was Asian restaurant. And I thought at the end that the restaurant owner had been top guide, giving us some free sake, and it was a kind of a weird Asian mix restaurant, bit of everything. I thought at the end I'll say, I'll thank him.
In Mandarin.
In Mandarin, feel all pleased as punch like a little 5-year-old or something, impressing his mum and dad or something. And I spoke to this guy, and he gave me that blank look with a big smile. And I was like, oh, maybe it's my pronunciation. I'll try again. And then there was like a few seconds, and then you could just see the click, and it was like, yes. He said, oh, no. He said, I'm from Vietnam.
Oh, no.
So it was, so I made a total arse of myself.
It's lovely that you tried.
The intent was there. Yeah. The intent was there.
But I found there's a lot of, it's the best way to, I mean, it's a bit more of a rude phrase. I've got my reflexive verbs wrong in French. So when I started working in the estate agency, first week, really intense. I was probably working 6 days a week just to get everything sorted in busy season, maybe up to 80 hours a week. And I was absolutely wrecked by the end of the week. So the phrase I used, I thought I was saying, when people said, oh, you've well deserved, James, you've worked your ass off this week, what are your plans for the weekend? I said, I'm absolutely cooked. I'm going home to sleep all weekend, was what I thought. Everybody burst out laughing, and I got quite agitated. I was like, well, I've worked my ass off this week. Why are you all laughing at me? And they said, oh, well, we must tell you this, James, so you don't make the same mistake. I'd not used a reflexive verb, which I always get wrong at school. And they said, oh, instead of saying you're going home to sleep all weekend, you're going home to shag all weekend.
Nice. Of all the words to choose, for it to be, it's that one.
And I've never forgotten that. And it's always these phrases. I was at university with she's still a friend from Athens in Greece. And I would like to try a few phrases out. And there was one day I'd said to her, I thought I was saying, hi, how are you? In Greek, and she burst out laughing. I was like, what's wrong? She said, oh, you just said, hi, how heavy are you? We've been friends ever since. So I'm quite all right with making a fool of myself, have a go, and people kind of warm to that, I think, if you just have a go.
They do, and putting yourself in a vulnerable position where you can get it wrong and where you can make a bit of a fool of yourself. Goes a long way, both for you to make that mistake and to everybody else who can see that it's all right to make mistakes. Like, yeah, I'm a firm believer of that. It's good. I like it.
Okay, so you're in Sunderland.
I am.
You didn't love your psychology degree.
I didn't, no.
And you decided just to get a little bit tipsy all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it quickly developed into me becoming a normal functioning member of society. So thanks. I got my first job in a call centre, gave myself some sales experience, which then led me to get a job in a bank in Newcastle. I mean, that's where my kind of career, I believe that my career was then headed. I believe that I was destined to be working a 9 to 5 in a bank, Monday to Saturday. Yeah, I know, like it is that. And I didn't realise that I was getting as bogged down with that as what I thought, which is going to lead into where we're going with the whole fat lad journey. But like, it's kind of, it was just a comfort thing. I was happy with the way that life was. There was no real trials. There was no real tribulations. I was just kind of coasting through. There wasn't anyone majorly challenging me.
Easy.
I'd go home. I'd watch TV. I wasn't doing anything. I was progressing mentally. Like, I was getting better at my job, and I was progressing through the ranks within the bank and stuff. But I wasn't doing anything. Do you know what I mean? And then I left NatWestern last year, which we'll get further into because there's a lot that happened within that year, last year, which kind of led to today and where we're at now. So it's been a crazy 18 months, coming up 2 years in December. So It's been mental, but good and enjoyable.
So you mentioned there the fat lad journey. Kind of what was the starting point for that?
Well, my journey into Thai boxing started in 2014. When I first walked into a Muay Thai gym, I was comfortable working in the bank, and I just wanted a little bit of adventure. I wanted something exciting, and I kind of always had a bit of an interest with my youth club, 16, 17, with boxing. Always had a kind of vague curiosity about getting punched in the face. Outside of the gym, right, I am the most passive person you'll ever meet in your life. Any sort of confrontation, I'll talk my way out of it. I'll be like, here, listen, mate, I don't want any trouble, and I'll do my best to talk my way out of it. Put me some gloves on and some shin pads now, like, you'll see a completely different me. Not that it's, I suppose it is violent, but it's kind of, it was just when my
Controlled violence in
it is. It's
to an
beautiful.
extent.
It's beautiful violence.
Sport.
It is. But I remember the first time that I kicked and I threw a hook on the pads, and my now coach and very good friend Craig, he said to one of the lads, Jedward, in the gym, like, he turned to me first and was like, "Are you sure you've never done anything before, you?" And I was like, "No, I promise, I've never hit a pad or anything." And he goes, "Jedward, come over here and look at this kid. He's telling me that he's never hit before." And like,
You watching Karate Kid or something?
yeah, well, I must have been or something. And obviously, I went out with a good boost in my ego because he said that I was quite good. And from that moment on, I felt at home in the gym. Trained for a little while and went through the motions. And then there was the pivotal moment of this whole catalyst of the fat lad to fighter journey. Craig always told me that I could be good at fighting if I wanted to put my mind to it, but I enjoy food too much. I love sugar. I love junk food. Pizza is my absolute downfall in life. And these little flips, they're like sugar, they're like yogurt coated pretzels to die for. They're like a pound from Tesco. They're my absolute weakness.
It's where you buy a bag and you're like, I'll just have two.
Yeah.
I'll just have another two.
Yeah.
And they're like, shit, the bag's gone. What's happened? How did that happen?
I was talking about the bags, 2 bags. But no, it was kind of, Craig was always telling me that I could do well, that with the strength that I've got in my body, like between my legs, and if I worked on my hands, that I could get better and improve and be quite good at fighting. But I was always too heavy. That was always my problem. And there was one moment when I was shopping in town, and me and Maxie, my oldest, he was 3 at the time, my wife was in New Look with Mav in the pram. I was outside on, like, have you been to Sunderland recently?
Yeah.
You know where New Look is, where they've just knocked down all the Crow Tree Leisure Centre.
Yeah.
So like that's all open plan. So he ran down. He was on a little balance bike. He ran down towards like the main High Street West.
Yeah.
That main road there. He just went. He went, and I tried running after him. Couldn't catch him. I was smoking. I was nearly 100 kilos. I got like 10 meters down the road and nearly collapsed, and I thought I was blowing out a lung and dying. Like I couldn't do it, and he ran off. I had a stranger had to get him and bring him back to me. So at that point in my moment, and I was like, I can't be doing this. It's not who I am. Like I can't put my child in danger purely based on glutton and love for food. So a big readjustment of myself from that moment on happened. I was working with a company called Fight Record at the time. I spoke to them about this project. They kind of advised me against it because in the nature of any startup company, you kind of need to be dedicated to that. And as much as it was still sector specific, it took away from the role that I did within the business, being the more media guy that we spoke about a little bit before with the blogging and that. So kind of that created a little bit of turbulence between me and these guys throughout the whole journey because, like they said, it did take my concentration away from it. So that kind of led me on a big journey of people telling me that you shouldn't do it, you can't do it. Did it all
Watch
of these
me.
different
Hold
things.
my pretzel.
And that was, well, that was it. Like, it's funny that we're approaching December the 7th this year because my first fight was on December the 8th last year. So it's exactly a year down the line that we're now lining the anniversary up for. Same show.
Yes.
So it's really, really quite exciting. But no, like the whole journey, I had every reason not to do it. I lost my job. I went through 3 jobs last year. So I lost my job at the bank. I then got working for a guy who fabricates solid work surfaces, like granite worktops. So throughout the summer, I was lugging around 300 kilo bits of stone, fabricating. Like, and I'm a paper pusher, me. Like, I'm a keyboard warrior. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm at home behind my computer. Give me a tool and I'll kill someone, if not myself first, you know. Like, I am a danger to people with any sort of hard man tool. And like, to put it into perspective, I'll do something DIY related at home and I get man points because like it's completely out of character for me.
It's like changing the toilet roll.
Yeah, and like there was I lost my keys all the time, and putting a key rack up next to the door, just drilling 2 holes in a wall, putting a wall plug in, and or a roll plug, which I thought they were wall plugs, but they're not. They're roll.
RAWL.
Yeah, they're roll plugs.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So put them in and screwed it in. Like my mum had to buy me a drill. Like it's ridiculous. So to put that, hope that creates a bit of perspective in that I'm not in any way, shape or form meant for construction, which is what I did. I then left that job. He's a good friend of mine, so he kind of saved my house at that point because I got sacked from the job at NatWest, so I needed to put money on my table, food on my table. And Dave, big shout out to Dave, like he saved my ass last year. I don't know where I would have been without him. So thank you to Dave. Arrow Surfaces, if you ever need any granite work surfaces, he's your man. What a ledge. So he then pushed me and wanted me to succeed. So then he was like, right, well, we'll find you a job that you want to do, because he kind of knew that I didn't want to be doing this. I was depressed there, I was kicking shit on the daily because I was just sick of my life. I hated it. I got a job with a tech startup in Newcastle. More of a salesy role. I thought I was going in as a more social media guy, because over the past few years with me doing Fight Record and Muay Thai blog, I kind of became social media savvy, and I thought that that's what the job was, but it wasn't. It was more of a sales account manager job. New boss came in, didn't really like him, didn't get along with him, so I ended up walking out of that job too. Called him a bit of an ass, because it was just the way that he spoke to people. I didn't like it, didn't really want to be around that, especially with everything that was culminating and building up to that point. So I quit my job 2 weeks before I fought, 4 weeks before Christmas, and then set up it was just December of last year. November, December of last year was just completely mental. If anybody in the world tells you that you can't do anything, I call bullshit on it, because you can. Like, there is no, if I can do what I did last year, anybody can do anything. Just let that sink in for a moment, because it's so true. It really is.
Mindset.
Yeah, completely. And from that moment on, so I fought then in December. So I quit my job 2 weeks out, and then decided, well, I was kind of left in the lurch a little bit. I didn't have a job. I was fighting in 2 weeks. So I kind of used that 2 weeks to take some time out of work, traditional work, and I just lived in the gym for them 2 weeks and really honed everything and kind of just concentrated on getting that out the way, which was good, and I was able to do that. But then after the fight, I was like, right, coming up Christmas, and no one's going to hire me just before Christmas. Like, what can I do? And I had a great interest in video, and a passion for it. I just discovered it very recently, and I was like, I'd quite like to learn how to do this. So with very, very, very little experience in both video and business, I decided to set up my own little videography business. So and it set me up for this year, enabled me to train Joe like when I can, because I was self-employed. I was working on my terms, so if I had time during the day, I could go and get a couple of hours training in, which worked out for the best, because then I was able to have three fights in 2019. And kind of be a bit more flexible to do the things that I want to do, which was the first half of the year. And then somebody headhunted me for the job that I'm in at the moment as a videographer now. So this skill set developed within 6 months, enough that I was then headhunted into a company to essentially, I set up my own videography business called Magic Mouse Media, and that essentially just got absolved into what is now Kudos to Media. So it's kind of my business within their more larger scale project, which is amazing, because I've now got the backing of these awesome people. There's an infrastructure within the business that they've got scalability and everything, so everything is just, it's working out, man. Like I really feel as though everything is kind of shuffling. The pieces are moving right, and that's evident in the way that I'm conducting myself now. I feel like I'm, as I said before, heading on the right path.
You've almost got the best of both worlds, really, because do you still have the autonomy to do what you need to do?
100%.
Yeah, and then obviously the safety there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, because they pay my wage every month.
Check you
So
out.
like I was in a position to barter. I was speaking to my mum about this, and I was like, Mum, like I've never been in a position to negotiate a wage. Like, what do I do? And she was like, sorry lads if you're listening, but she was like, they're hardened salesmen. You need to go in at the top end of your budget, because they're going to work you down. And that's what I did, and I came out with what I asked for. So I was over the moon, like I really, really was. And the lads over at Kudos have been fantastic in welcoming me in and giving me the autonomy and the creative freedom to do what I like. Obviously producing a lot of content is what I like to do, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But what I said about them was they're kind of diehard salesmen. So they're from a business utility perspective. They all worked at Utility Wise. Like that's what Kudos to Saving is. It's a business that goes and saves businesses money. So the idea of Kudos to Saving is that we'll reduce your bottom line. Kudos to Media will elevate your business by boosting your top line and get more people in. So it's, again, the best of both worlds. If we can try and boost your presence on social, we'll create you some amazing videography content. Give us a shout. Or we'll come in and save you some money on your business. Or if you want the videos but you can't afford them, then we'll save you money on it. And you know, so it's kind of, it's just finding a way and a business model that suits it to support both as they grow. And the reason that I was saying that is because I don't have that killer instinct, that sort of salesy background. I will do you a video for free because I love people and I love videos. Like that is it. Sit me in a room with a computer and a camera and I'm all yours. I'm ears. Tell me to go out and get $5,000 for something, and I'm like, I get nervous. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that cutthroat killer instinct, whereas they do. And they value my work a lot more. So because it's my work, I'm still happy to charge my £100 for the video. They're like, Dom, that's worth £1,000, you idiot. What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't value it like that. But they see that, and it's nice. And it's nice then to have them there as Kudos to Media to sell it, because I'm not a seller. Like I'm curse of the creative, you know.
You'd be surprised. So I had to go through a bit of a charging people for doing this thing that's fun, you know. And it's all about helping. You know, you're not, you're creating, giving a load of value, and it is, it's worth. You're helping somebody, so it's almost like a switch that flicked in my head. You know, I can deliver this good value because you are, taking away me not being able to eat, you know, so it's a reciprocal exchange. It was I always had a bit of a thing like, money, gross. Much better now. James has sorted me out with that stuff.
When I first started and I was doing it by myself, I didn't believe that the work that I was doing was worth more than what I was charging, just based on the fact that I wasn't trained in it. There was guys out there that were probably younger than me, that had done it longer than me, that were charging less than me, or whatever. And like, I just didn't feel as though my offering was as valuable to them, when really I really got to quickly realise that that's not true, and that you are more valuable, because it's you and your spin that you bring to it. And people buy people, they don't buy the product or service. So if you can build up a good rapport with them, then they're already sold.
Yeah, no, it's interesting sort of working with James and his sort of sales training background and his experience in corporates in that area. It's like,
it's knowing the right vocabulary to use with them. So like we're targeting people to work with at the moment now who I could have never have dreamed of working with. So you had The Alchemist, yeah? So we went down to Manchester and filmed. They originated in Manchester. We went round to their 3 venues there and told a little story about them. And that for me, it's just mind-blowing that like a venue wants us, but I say us, it's my video content. Like I'm there behind the camera and I'm editing it. As much as it's a kudos to media branded video, and that's who they're working with. The product of it is mine, and it's really bizarre. And I take a great deal of humbleness. I'm really humbled at the fact that people do take value from what I love to do, and that all bleeds through into Fat Lad as well, where I just sit and talk to my phone about things I find interesting. And for people then this guy messaged me and he goes, Dom, I'm coming to watch your fight. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, I'll buy tickets off you. And he sold 7 tickets to come and watch us fight. Like that, I set myself a goal of having 20 tickets sold in a table, and that for a fighter is quite good. So to have 30 tickets sold, and for him to have sold 7, Jay, absolute legend, and I've never met him. I've never met him personally, and it's just through the relationships that we've built on Insta that he's a fighter too, and he knows what it's like. And like, we're talking about getting some rounds in one day and all these different things, but for him to put me in a position now where I can say that I've sold as a minimum 7, I've sold more tickets than that, but it's really nice that people are willing, just based off the fact that, or just based on what I produce online, that people take enough value from it that they then want to invest their own time and their own money, hard-earned money, to come and watch me fight. It's mind-blowing. Yeah. It's really mind-blowing.
Internet friends are brilliant though, aren't they?
And it's and I've always been the one, I get the piss taken out of me something rotten in the gym, because I've always got my phone somewhere close. I'm always taking pictures. I'm always doing videos. I'm always jumping on with people and being like, yo, quick selfie. And like they all laugh at the fact that I'm always 5 minutes late coming into the gym because I'm stood outside telling people that I'm going in and what classes are on. And he's been updating his Insta story again. And as much as they do take the piss, like, 1, I don't care, and 2, there are people out there who might be watching that particular video at that particular time, that's just what they needed. So they might see me talking about something in that, just at that one moment, that flicks that switch for them to think, do you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And that's why I continually make the content, because it was 2 guys called Sean Fagan and Paul Banashik who inspired me to start documenting my journey. And Gary Vee, have you heard of Gary Vee?
Oh yeah.
Love a bit of Gary Vee. And he inspired me to more document my journey. That was kind of my discovery of Gary Vee. Very quickly became my discovery of Fat Lad, kind of on the side, because I was like, oh shit, people would love that. People would really love that. And I saw it as a good business opportunity further down the line to become a personal trainer, coach, talking 5-year investment for that. But like on the short term, it's a really selfish, fun project that I do believe people and myself can take some value from in some way.
Yeah, they're with you along each step, aren't they? The journey, they see the training sessions, the effort you're putting in, the results you're getting. And you get people questioning, actually. It's like, shit, Dom done it. I'm still sat here on the sofa
watching Game of
loving
Thrones.
and liking his Insta stories.
1,000%. Like, there's this kid called Jack Henderson who reaches out to us on social, like, we're Insta friends. Friends. and
James hasn't seen you in between us, so he doesn't understand that. I know.
It's on the list.
Yeah, you need to. But like he's like 90. I'm pretty sure he started a little bit heavier than me, maybe 110 or something, but he's working his way down. And there's a picture I posted online the other day, and it was me at the same weight. So it was me weighing in December of last year at 72 kilos. and weighing in at my last fight 2 weeks ago at 72.5. And the physical difference, it's the same weight, but the physical difference is monumental. And that's just through the hard graft, the day in, day out grinding. You're running on a morning, and just because I'd never been physical. I wasn't a footballer when I was a kid. I hated sports. I danced because I had my interest in musical theatre, so that was my fitness. I danced. I was quite supple. I was well balanced, and that's evident now in the work that I do in the gym. So we do like a lot of handstands, core work, a bit of calisthenics and stuff. So like yesterday, what we were doing is we were going into a headstand, putting your legs up, and then one down, up, and then that way, and then putting them. It's going to be weird for people that are listening. Opposite, and then turning them around like that. And there were people who were really struggling with it. And had I done that last year, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But because now my core's got better, guys, I've got a 4-pack. Like
wow.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Kansas Stella.
It's yeah. Well, that's what it used to be. But like, I remember seeing the peak of an ab come through, and I've never had abs in the 28 years of this world that I've been lucky enough to experience. Like, I've never had an ab, and now
You got 4.
I've got 4, and it's just it really is like I kind of have to regularly check that they're still there. It's like, oh shit,
Hang on, I'm checking the abs.
I've had a spoonful of sugar this morning, but
Check
like
this out.
but no, but I mean, yes, being in good shape is good, and looking good is one sort of it was something that I didn't set out to do, but it's just a nice side sort of product of doing the work that I do in the gym, I guess, being physically fit. But being physically fit and overcoming what you do in the gym equips you so much more for your normal day-to-day life. Like, if you're in a position where you can push your body and your mind further than what you could have ever imagined was possible. So when I first started training, the thought of doing 50 kicks each leg was absolutely mortifying. I just got the heebie-jeebies put up me thinking about it. Now there's this thing called death. It sounds...
Actual death?
Yeah, well, it's as bad as it sounds. So for the combat sport fans, so it's 10 punches, bap, 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 bap. So you do that 10 times, 10 kicks each leg, 10 knees each knee, 20 skip knees, and then 10 burpees.
Oh, I hate burpees.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's death.
Yeah, that's death.
Right.
Sounds
That
like it.
still puts the heebie-jeebies up me. But the thought of doing 50 kicks now, it's a piece of piss.
Yeah.
I say it's a piece of piss. It's still hard graft. It's still hard work. But it's all relative. These we were talking about it before, the micro accomplishments that you achieve on a daily basis, as long as you think about them and reflect on them and learn from them, then they are more motivation for you to keep, or at least for me, they're more motivation for me to keep going back to the gym, to keep achieving them, just to get that nice feeling. Like, there's that video of the Navy SEAL guy who says you should wake up at 4 o'clock every morning and make your bed. And if you've started your day in that way, it's all right because you've made your bed and you get back into your made bed on a night. That's fine. But if you can set yourself a task and complete that task. I remember when I first started Fat Lad and I wrote down on a piece of paper, I'm going to have a fight. And I didn't actually really fully believe that I would, but I looked at it every day and believed in it. And here we are, a year down the line, 5 fights deep. It's mental.
It's cool.
It is.
Sorry, I get lost on complete tangents.
No, it's fine.
As I understand it, you've got another one coming up in December 7th, isn't it?
It sure is. So it's funny that it is happening a year down the line, almost to the day. It's on the same show. So it's Victory Promotions. This time it's at a bigger venue. It's at a 1,500-seater venue at the Gateshead Leisure Centre. Tickets are £30. If anybody is listening that wants to come along, I will give you a massive £5 discount. So if you would like to come and see some amazing fights, like if anybody is interested in combat sports in any way, shape or form, imagine MMA. Your kind of mixed martial arts, what's massive at the moment, Conor McGregor-esque sort of stuff. It's the stand-up version of that everybody finds entertaining without the ground game. So Thai boxing is your punch, your knees, your elbows, and your kicks and clinch. So it's everything that's exciting about MMA without the ground game that people find physically boring. So it is on the 7th of December. Doors open at, I do believe it's 4:00. If you would like to purchase a ticket, you can get them on fightrecord.co.uk/shop, or you can find me on social. Get at me, Fat Lad to Fighter. Said how it sounds, Fat Lad to Fighter.
All
one word.
Mostly on Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook and Instagram's where you can generally find me on the daily. 100% Facebook, Instagram.
So to get your discount, you've got to shoot you a message on Facebook or Instagram and mention the podcast, don't you? Inspiration North podcast.
100%. So, yeah, if you drop me a message and say that you want to come and watch me fight, then by all means, I'll come and personally drop the tickets off to you. And if you mention the Inspiration North podcast, then I'll give you the discount too. And thank you for your custom and your support, because seriously, like, everybody who does buy a ticket to come and watch you fight, it really, really, really does go a long way. It might seem like something trivial, or come in and watch him fight, but it's 6 to 8 weeks of hard graft that you put in the gym. And to have that moment and your friends and your family and even strangers there to support you, it's massive. And the opportunities that you get if you're known as a ticket seller for events goes to get you better opportunities as well. And for the sake of spending 30 quid on a night that you
25.
will have 5 or 25 for the Inspiration North podcast listeners, legends, you'd spend that. You'd spend more than that on a meal, on a night out, on a bottle of wine and a good meal. Do you know what I mean?
100 quid.
So
good entertainment.
It really is good entertainment, and there will be some amazing fights there and amazingly talented guys putting their bodies on the line. So Victory Promotions, if you want to go have a look at what they're doing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
So is there anyone else you'd like to thank?
Absolutely. You guys, first of all, for having me on. Thank you. It's been great. And the second podcast that I've featured on. So yeah, first of all, my wife and everybody at home who religiously puts up with my endless amounts of crap. 2 weeks, 3 weeks out from a fight, mindset completely changes and you become a completely different person. You internalize and you really start thinking about hurting people. And they get the brunt of that a lot. So thank you to wifey, I love you. And my 2 boys, my beautiful boys, Maximus and Maverick, thank you too. And my mum, who's living with us at the minute, and her 3 dogs and a cat.
Oh, wow.
So my house is just mental. So thank you to all those guys, and Dave over at RO Surfaces, both for saving my bacon last year and for being a continuous support for me and sponsoring me through this journey. He's funded a trip down to Leeds to go train with some of the best in the UK next week. So I'm very much looking forward to being able to do that. And if there is anybody out there that is listening, I'm going to use this opportunity to quickly plug. If I do have a good local audience, like something like 85% of my audience is local. So if there are any businesses out there that are looking to connect with an audience that's local and contextually correct, then I'd love to open a conversation with potential sponsorship opportunities. I think with my media background, I am able to help a lot of people, which is where the value is placed on sponsorship. So if there are anybody out there, feel free to drop me an email, dom@muaythaiblog.co.uk. I understand that Muay Thai is a bit of a funny word, so you can just find me on Insta or Facebook and drop me a message. I appreciate that.
How do you spell that?
How do you Google that? Thai boxing.
Thai boxing, yeah. But just a big, massive thank you to everybody. If anybody else is listening that's been a part of the whole journey, I'm looking up to the sky because we've got a big window here. But it's amazing that people have took the time to support me and follow me on the journey. And it's just the beginning, guys.
Now, our last question is always, we take people back to their younger self. So from all these experiences, all these lessons, all that you've seen and achieved, what we're going back sort of a decade or so, what do you think you'd give yourself as advice?
I'm just going to take a moment to say it's a decade since I was 18. That's mental. That is
Try being
wicked.
40.
Oh my God. I was sat talking to my mum about the fact that it's been 12 years since I left school. It hurts my brain. My 18-year-old self, I would say don't change a thing. Everything's meant to happen as it is. Have faith that everything is good. Work hard. Continue to work hard. And stay true to your true north. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and that you wouldn't be presented with the situations that you're presented with if you're not meant to either overcome them or learn from them. So just have faith that everything will be okay, because it always is.
Oh, you give me goosebumps. Love it.
Yeah, my 18-year-old self was stupid, and he wouldn't listen to me anyway. But
yeah, me too.
I'll tell him that regardless, and hope that there are other 18-year-olds out there who are listening.
I think other 18-year-olds are more likely to listen than you. Yeah.
But they wouldn't listen
To themselves.
No,
either, so
they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. But it's
Cool.
beautiful. Thank you guys for
No
having us.
worries,
I
it's
really
been
do
a pleasure,
appreciate
Dom.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Wicked.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway.
And tell everybody.